University of Asia Pacific and President, Institute of Architects Bangladesh, to give us this welcome speech and start today's first session. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you on behalf of the University of Asia Pacific and also from the Institute of Architects Bangladesh to this workshop on challenges in decolonizing architecture, practice, and pedagogy in the post-colonial global South. I extend my heartfelt gratitude or thanks to all the organizers, co-organizers, and co-universities, and also the person like Tostin Shakur and Rumman who made this event possible, and your effort to create a platform to address one of the crucial issues in this time, the decolonizing in architecture practice and in pedagogy. In this context, I'd like to say a few words. In the context of Bangladesh, the colonial era is not only the colonial British and also the Mughal. We think they are also a colony in our country. And this legacy is multi-layered. And during this time, how our builder and how our architect that time, they have decolonized or they overshadowed the colonial elements and colonial legacy. Rather, they adapted local wisdom, local traditional wisdom, and local vernacular architecture even. In this aspect, I take two examples. One is the Mughal. Why I call them colonial? Because they developed an idea in central India and tried to introduce in Bengal, the Mughal mosque. Mosque in the form of the three-dome mosque. But the Bengali builder, they rejected the main idea. Lot of elements. The number one element, the minar. In Bengal, they disregard the minar because it is not needed in our country. In the landscape of Bengal, we don't need any minar. So this is one example. Another example in Asan Mandir, people call it a colonial building, but to me, there is no building is a colonial building. Building made during the colonial period. This building adapted our local climate and our made in local context. For example, this is a north-south oriented building, Asan Mandir. Not only the north-south oriented, they create different layer for climatic reason. So wide veranda. Veranda, number one, they use veranda for overlooking the rivers, Buriganga rivers. But the main reason behind to build a veranda in the south, wide veranda, to protect the living room from the sun, from the direct touch of the sun. And they introduced the second layer of sun cutter. This is called wooden lattice. Wooden lattice is the summer breeze can go through, but the sun cutter, year sun cutter. This is the element they introduced in that time. This is they have. Even the Khan has accepted this philosophy. The main room is in the second layer. There is a layer for the climatic protection. These are the training of the example. In this discourse, we should rethink, revisit our history in our pedagogy, in our architecture, so that we can learn how our ancestors address these issues of decolonizing in our context. So this is my request to everyone. Probably you have to open up the platform. In this platform, we can start to rethink our pedagogy in architecture school. In this aspect, I'd like to thank even the Khulna University. Khulna University for the first time introduced architectural heritage in Bangladesh. And then BUET adopted it. When you are the student or we are the student, we didn't learn the Bengal history. But the Bengal history course for the first time introduced, and Khulna University later adopted in BUET. Similarly, the architectural conservation we have introduced in Asia Pacific now is in BUET and other universities, they're offering architectural conservation. So the academy, they can change actually. The new academy come up from the different universities, different in Bangladesh, and 26 universities. Each and every university has their own vision, own goal, and they can start in their curricula. They can incorporate a lot of things, not in the history. So we should revisit our history, not the traditional history. We should start in our curriculum. I have seen in your program in the last session, there is a lot of things to discuss in our architectural education. Sir will discuss about the architectural education, educational system, and Dr. Wallace and Malik also. So at the end, I congratulate you, and hopefully we'll at the end of today's workshop we can find a revoking or new rethinking our pedagogy and practice. Thank you, everyone, and wish you success of this workshop and seminar. I'm done with the
Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Abu Said Imam sir. Now I would like to welcome Dr. Tuslim Shukur sir to introduce the workshop themes.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning and Shubho Shakal. I'm so delighted. Dhaka, the temperature is around 23 degrees, and I apologize for those people in England and America who is -5, -20, and they're still waking up to listen to us. First of all, it's so delighted to be in a place like this university, Asia Pacific, and my junior, Professor Saeed, has wonderfully explained the strength of this workshop. And he's also given the insight very nicely that we have done many things before, which needs to be revisited. Sometimes we probably don't see our thing so well. So this workshop, I don't want to repeat what is already written in the workshop blurb, but basically we are trying to look into revisit the colonial aspect and how we can decolonize our mind. It's not an easy matter. This is a subject which is going quite trendy in Europe and America, but I thought we should bring in Global South as well. So this is why, with the help of University of Cardiff, my colleague Professor Magda Al-Sibli, and University of Bursa in Turkey, with Professor Tulin and Professor Munim here, we all started this thing. Okay, I'm not going to take much time to describe a very simple structure. We have got 4 sessions. The first one, which is a session on locating cultural colonial, discolonial built environment. Location of culture, I will be probably speaking in my talk very quickly. But we look at the history, as Professor Saida just said, Mughal time and other pre-Mughal as well. What was the location of culture? How it has changed with the industrialization? So more of a historical perspective. Then we'll talk about the practices in the post-colonial cities, because the urban design and planning will also come with it. So that is the second session. We'll have a lunch break then. We'll go a coffee break. Third one is basically this probably a serious one, because the hegemonic dichotomous vernacular and heritage tradition. The way we got these papers, these had some nice papers, so we thought we should have a special session of that. And finally, the session 4 is challenges of decolonizing architectural pedagogy. But more we are thinking, what are the practices in universities, particularly Bangladesh University, they are undertaking. So it's not a very rocket science. I would suggest that you please listen to this carefully. And there's a nice reporters here, Ansar, Munim, and other people are also here to help. They will give you a gist of the summary. The way we have done the structure is, in each session we'll have 3-4 lectures, and we'll have a 20 minutes of break for questions. So may I suggest from the convener's point of view, not to ask too long questions. Maybe short question, and also if you make comment, make a short one, so that many people can participate. And finally, we have got, after the fourth session, we have got a nice plenary session. Plenary session, we will be bringing all the 4 sessions summary, and then you will have another about, I think we've got about half an hour time to discuss. I mean, those of you who say, what is the difference between conference and a workshop? Workshop, we talk in England, is, well, bring your old dodgy card to a workshop, you get it all right again. So we will bring our half-cooked papers to distribute to you, and then you can feedback how we can improve later. So those scholars who are giving the paper, I've got a lot of respect for them. They're only giving a 10 minutes gist. So don't think they're giving you all the strength here. And those who are preparing also, they will also be learning from you. It's a learning process. And once again, I'm so delighted. Such a nice morning, and in this university, so many people have come here. Generally, university in England and America, we all know, in a college, 8-10 people come. We're more than 20 already here, and more coming. So I don't want to take any more time, but just want to make one point before I start. I feel today very humble because my mentor, Professor Mir Mubashir Ali, I think that's a photo of that. And I thought I should make a tribute to him very shortly. He's not well. He is one of the old professors, one of the earliest dean and professor, head of the Department of Architecture, Bangladesh University in Technology, where I started as soon as the Liberation Front. He's in bed now. It may be very sad. I saw him a few days ago, and it really brought me to tears. He is one of the person who started this kind of debate. He started about the education of 50 years. I will request you, those of you here, please do pray for him and please visit him, because he needs to see people like you. So with that, I shall end this session. Then we'll do the next session for the start. Thank you very much.
Uh, Good morning from Dhaka, and a very warm welcome to all the researchers, academics, architects, and practitioners who are joining here with us live from around the world. And I have just checked our online registration form today, this morning, and I've noticed that more than 100 numbers of participants that we have across across the world, not only from Dhaka, Bangladesh, but from Turkey, UK, USA, and even in Brunei, Darussalam, we have one of the participants. So it's a very crisp and chilly morning here in Dhaka, and it's exactly 10 a.m. Yes, I'll do that. And that translates to 5 a.m. in the UK, and 12 a.m. it's midnight on the east coast of the USA, and 7 in the morning in Turkey, 10:30 a.m. in India. Sorry, maybe it's 9:30 a.m. in India, and also it's 9 in Pakistan. So I'm chairing this session 1 today, and from this very beautiful campus of University of Asia Pacific, and I'm Imamul Hussain. It's my honor to welcome you to session 1, locating cultural, colonial / decolonial built environment. And this session promises to develop deep into the colonial legacy, the decolonized practices, and the intersection of them with the built environment. So each of our speaker will have 10 minutes allocated for their presentation. So we have 4 distinguished speakers here in this session. And finally, we'll have a 20 minutes of question and answer session. So I would like to begin with our first speaker, Dr. Tuslim Shukur, who will set the tone for this wonderful session, I guess. And Dr. Shukur is the editor-in-chief of Global Built Environment Review GBER journal. And GBER is one of the first of its kind, the open access online journal, and he is also the coordinator of Knowledge Without Borders. So, sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you again and again. Good morning. And I've got only 10 minutes, and I'll ask the chair to give me a signal at 8 minutes so that I can really wrap up within 10 minutes. I'm careful other people don't go time ahead. Okay, so here goes my start. Dematerializing tailorization of Western aesthetics. This is the term I want to explain clearly. How we are tailorizing the Western aesthetics to south extent. This is my idea that we have done enough of the tailorization of the Western architecture to the east. Now maybe time that we should do within south and south, between Turkey and Bangladesh, between Algeria and here. And he said, I'm not a big professor or anything now. I'm a retired academic, so you don't have to take me seriously. And I'm giving it more like a commentary rather than a very powerful paper. Okay, I want these. Right, I'm trying to do like a picture book so that I don't spend much time on each slide. They will come in the paper later. So first, of course, impact of Western imposing cultures. Orientalism, cultural imperialism, and location of culture. I'm taking only 3 theoretical views here. And I know it's like an elementary to many. So one is of Edward Said, and the second one is Homi Bhabha. So you all know Edward Said, so I don't like to overemphasize. If you see the picture of Orientalism, of Edward Said, the picture, and the next one, cultural imperialism, basically what happened in his literature, he says the East is taken as something mystical, something exotic, you know. And if I say like, eyes of the greeny eyes, when all those were exotic. In Africa, taken as a Zulu tribe, were about to be raped. Or if you see the paintings of Goya, you know, there were all these big women are being drawn naked. So that is really taken as something exotic. I would say they're really looking down actually. And they're actually studying the global south. So Baba, 90, you probably heard of Omi Baba. He has started a very nice debate of where is the culture located? Where is the actual culture? So culture is actually located solidly in the West, America and Europe. And there we are converging to that. And we are not having our own culture elsewhere. Okay, next one please. Now going straight to the point. Western urban planning design concept and its impact on global building environment in the South. It's all known, but as Saeed said, we're going to revisit. So this is one of the re-examining. The one of the is Liverpool, which I did my PhD about 30 years ago on the left side. Have you got a pointer here? But you can see it if you got a pointer. So on the left, yeah, this one. In Liverpool, you can see the way all the tall buildings are. Next is Calcutta in the 1920s. You can see how the spaciousness of the urban planning, no different. Born in 1940s, Liverpool and taken 1920s Calcutta, or now Kolkata, very much in the line. Next one is of Paris on the left, the boulevards of Paris. All those who have been to Paris, they know how it's done. And finally, the Casablanca. Exactly, I saw Casablanca from the plane. Honestly, I thought I'm landing on Paris. So nice, they are converging into one line. So the idea is transfer of Western planning, architectural models to Bosman state, basically simple transfer from the main capital to the other. Okay, next one please. Now, this I'm coming with serious one. Inappropriate modernist architecture planning by Corbusier, Doxieri, and Louis Kahn. I know many of you probably worship them, but in the West they are not any longer. Now, if you see the criteria of determining the program of Chandigarh, had little to do with convenience majority of people. Middle of nowhere, Chandigarh was brought up. It's not my saying, it's a Professor Nelson in the 1970s, he located that. Or you can see, it is located that also. The one is, look at the Chandigarh one on the left. So you can see how the people are dislocated here. Next is coming Islamabad. Islamabad has rigid concept. And those of you know this Doxieri here, Dynapolis. Dynapolis is a revolving circular city. And it's done in a very big hill. They have been cut down. Absolutely absurd thing is done. And finally, I have to be careful what I say about Louis Kahn here because Louis Kahn, I remember, I think Harun was also there at that time. Louis Kahn came to architecture department in 1972, and one of my senior brothers asked him, "Excuse me, sir, why does the rain get inside the building?" And he angrily said, "Why the hell does it rain so much in Bangladesh?" I don't know how to remember that thing. So that is his answer to taking rain. Okay, next one, please. So, Corbusier, Metropolis Chandigarh, and Newton's put it secretariat building in Delhi. Both you can see. Look at the building in Corbusier, full plaza, and he designed it all in Paris in cold weather. So he did not know what the weather will be. Okay, so you can see this one, see the whole of the plaza, and no one can go inside. Why? You know why? Because everyone is barefooted in India. So he was thinking more of boulevard in Paris. So same is Luton. Look at Luton's building in Delhi. Does it look like Delhi or look like some in Europe? Exactly the same thing was put there. Anyway, because I don't want to run out of time, so go with the next one, please. Now, just give you one thought of one colonial, post-colonial, by Angie Hoogberg, who was in Sheffield with me, and she studied this global post-colonial world. So she said mostly about the management of instability and imperialism, globalism. So basically, he's saying that there's a strong convergence of the management of instability in the West, in the South. So that's why we're leading to this one. I'll come to that later. Okay, next one, please. Now, let's come to South Asia. Globalism, this is the thing I'm trying to point. tailorization of Western aesthetics. Now, you all know Tagore, Rabindranath Tagore, this is a big German, he was wearing the Eastern dress. But when he came to England, I wrote in his diary, he said, when he came to England, he gave up his Western Indian dress and started wearing English dress. And then he said, যখন এই যে আমি বেশভূষা ছাড়িয়ে দিলাম তখন এই যে ললনার অভাব হইল না he could dance with a lot of young women. So it was my, he himself said. So he realized the importance of Western dress in this time. And he wrote poems, which was again inspired and taken by also Irish poems. So like, I think, Ajiye Bosante, you must know, Ajiye Bosante is taken from Irish songs. Adapted from that. So I know you all admire him. But he is also influenced by American John Ford, Wilder, and Ron Howard. They are French and American directors who did this thing. And look at the line of Marcel Bachali. He romanticized poverty. If you see in the rain falling inside, starting with Setar by Ravi Shankar, nothing to do with poverty really. Misrepresentation. Okay, next one, please. So, how they tailor up Western aesthetics taking place? Okay, just Western aesthetics is taking place in Doshi in India, who worked with Corbusier and Khan, and of course our Mother Islam. This is Pozabudi building. Straightforward. He also worked with Louis Khan and he looked a lot there. Next one, please. So I don't have time, but otherwise I'll show you in Amsterdam, this building, this complex of local museum was broken into pieces because it doesn't work at all. It doesn't work at all because very tall building, it doesn't work at all. So they changed it to like this. Next one, please. This was the building and they dropped all this thing. Next one, please. So you can see how local museums is destroyed. And I've seen all the time in Amsterdam, and now they become like this. Will you ever decide to do that for Louis Kahn's building? You'll never do that. I'm asking you, please, have a look at the Amsterdam building. Our local building will change. Now, some good results from tradition, modernity, Bahasan Fati. I don't know if they look at the one. In the 60s, he was saying climate control thing, building, and more. And I think Professor Said was like that in Guerna, the local building. Next one. And Jeffrey Power building. This is the Parliament building. Next one, please. The old building like that. In Kerala building by Lord Baker. There's some good example. Next ones. I think this one is a good example of .cid, CID building, and the Bard building, all the Peshawar building. Okay, next one, please. One, okay. So, good examples are also Humayun State development in Delhi. Next one, please. I mean, all of this say the standard European curriculum travel in Turkey and in Kuwait. Next one, please. We studied in architecture this department with Texas A&M University's curriculum. Next one, please. I want to finish up with a nice one by Rizvi and Khaja Fagmi, two young architects in Rohingya. One of the organizations to the West, which was an award from Aga Khan, but I also gave them an award before Aga Khan gave that as well. Next one, please. So finally, some example of Nick Chan, who did a different thing, and Bashir Haq, my favorite architect. And this one I would say, in our curriculum, Institute of Architects in Turkey, they paid me a lot of money and this was to do this adaptable historic building environment of Turkey. So, I think, Chair, I think I've got you on time. So, sorry, I had to rush you all, but give me only a flash of things. I will explain them later. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tosin Shukur. Now, I would like to invite Professor Magda Shibli. She is joining us from the UK. And Professor Shibli, she is from the West School of Architecture at Cardiff University, which is ranked which is one of the top 5 university in the UK. And I'm very honored that you have joined here, madam. So the floor is yours, and you can share your screen presentation. So, could you please unmute yourself? Yeah, you are muted.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry, it's 4 o'clock in the morning here, 4:16. So it's lovely to join you. So excuse my slight delay for joining the workshop. I'll try to share just my abstract. I will talk through the abstract that is in the booklet. So I'll see if I can share this. Where can I share this? Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So following on from the amazing presentation of Dr. Taslim Shakur, I'm very pleased to join the conference and talk about history of architecture and decolonizing history of architecture. I originally come from Algeria, and I came to the UK in 1986 to do a PhD. And I joined the Sheffield University at the time, which was the School of Architecture of Sheffield, where I did my PhD. And it was at that university that I actually met Shakur a long time ago. And Taslim was in the planning department, and he was organizing the architecture, the inter-schools conference for development. And it was a really interesting venue and event which brought together quite a number of PhD students from all schools of architecture who were working on development issues. And so it was the first kind of a venue for me to be in a conference as a PhD student and to learn about what other students were doing. And it was really amazing to see that most of the students were PhD students were coming from different universities, were mainly overseas students who came with a particular background and a particular cultural and ways of teaching that came from different parts of the world. I came from North Africa, from Algeria, and as you know, Algeria was a very a long colony of the French, and it was actually colonized by the French in 1830. During that period, Algiers was the capital city of Algeria, but under the Ottoman Empire, so under Turkish Ottoman Empire. And it was a brutal colonization that lasted more than 100 years, ending in 1962. And during that first encounter between the French colonial power and Algiers, the capital city of Algeria, the first thing that the French did was to destroy a good part of the historic city, which is called today the Kasbah, was called the Kasbah, and it was in order to break the link between the historic city and the Mediterranean port. And it was then the beginning of an attitude towards what we call the indigents or the locals who were treated like animals and who were also referred to as barbers or indigents. They were considered as second-class citizens, and the destruction of the old city led to the introduction of a new form of urbanism, which is the Osmanian urbanism, with big boulevard and big, large buildings that were introduced. But what interesting in this the context of this conference is to understand a little bit about the history of modernism, with Le Corbusier being one of the important figures of modernism, who has had encounters with Algiers in the 1930s. And so it is interesting to I will not go into the details because my paper later on will go in details, and because the time is limited. But what I wanted to highlight here is the fact that this what is it called? The mission civilisatrice, which is a French word, it just indicates by its own meaning the fact that the French could actually make it more acceptable to the French, but also to the locals, that they are here for civilizing a nation that is not civilized and needed to and should be very grateful for the technological development and the infrastructure that will be built to change the city of Algiers into one of the main French colonial cities, but also they had plans for the city to be the capital of North Africa, because they were, of course, expanding to Morocco, Tunisia, and beyond. So, and it was in actually the centenary celebration of the French occupation to Algiers, so from 1830 to 1930s, when Le Corbusier came to Algiers, and he started developing a plan called the Obus plan, which is you have a clear vision here of what the plan is all about. So this, you can see Algiers on the port, the main destruction of a good part of the historic city, which is a walled city typical of Islamic city, and then the introduction of very utopian project called the Obus project. So this Obus project had a vision to celebrate then the centenary of colonialism, and therefore there were many parallels that the Corbusier made with colonialism and reference to Orientalism as well, which is from 19th century. And the Orientalism, his Orientalist attitude led to depicting Algiers as a female body, which is secret and needed to be explored. I will not show the pictures here, but it's something that is. Le Corbusier was very much influenced by the Orientalist painter like Delacroix, which has painted the femme of les femmes d'Alger, which is Algiers women. So Orientalism and colonialism were very much the framework through which Le Corbusier proposed this big project, the Obus plan, and I take reference to the work of Zeynep Selic, who's written quite a lot about Algiers and the Corbusier in Algiers and colonialism and Orientalism in Algeria. So she frames this encounter in the context of post-colonial studies of what actually happens to Algiers and the possible or different interpretation of the work of Le Corbusier, particularly his encounter with architecture in Algeria. So while the Corbusier is producing this image and giving it the name of Obus, which is like it's like a bomb which drops on Algiers. The name in French, that's what it means, which is quite interesting. He establishes a very different relationship to the site of Casbah, which at the same time was a very strong source of inspiration for his work. So you can see here through this that the Kasbah is completely controlled by the colonial interventions, but the plan is to having this big building and then this kind of. Pardon?
This is the 1 minute.
Pardon?
You can continue. We have only 1 minute in our time.
Oh, just 2 minutes.
1
2
minute.
minutes?
1
1
minute.
minute. Yes. So, this intervention, which is in the colonial intervention, is actually a different relationship that Le Corbusier has established with Islamic architecture, because he traveled quite a lot before doing this plan, and he has many sketches about Algeria. For some of these sketches are about the Kasbah of Algiers, and he learned, the Kasbah of Algiers is a series of cubical volumes that come down into the, it's on a hill and into the sea. And it has inspired the Corbusier in terms of some of his principles, like the cubist forms and the accessible terraces and the views and the access to the sun. But that encounter with the vernacular of the Kasbah is also marked by his encounter with vernacular in the city of the Mzab Valley, where you have Gardaya. It's a World Heritage Site with 5 settlements. And in one of the settlements, we have this mosque, which he visited, and he also sketches quite a lot about the Kasbah and about the old city of Melika and the vernacular architecture. And we can see very strong similarities between this funeral mosque of Sidi Ibrahim in Gardaya, in the valley of the Mzab, in the south of Algeria, and the architecture of the Ronchamp. His reference also to the Kasbah as a veiled woman is interesting, because he also introduces for the first time the brise soleil, which is the equivalent of a mashrabiyah in a masonry, which is an architectural element for shading. And he makes a clear reference to that in his writing. So the argument of the paper that I will develop later is that this contradiction between his inspiration by Islamic architecture through his trips to Istanbul and to Algiers and to the Mzab Valley in Algeria, south of Algeria, and his colonialist and Orientalist intervention in Algiers. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this wonderful scholarly insight representation. Next is we have Professor Gul Sayan Atanur. So she's joining us from the Turkey, and currently she is the Dean of Bursa Technical University's Faculty of School of Architecture and Design. And the title of her presentation is Emergence of the Urban Park Tradition During the Modernization Process in Turkey. So, Professor Atanur, if you are here, yes, I can see you.
Yes.
Professor Madhu, could you please stop sharing the screen? So,
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
thank you so much.
Sorry, is it? Sorry, has it unshared?
No, it's still.
I'll stop share. Here we are.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes. So, Professor Atanur, time starts.
Yes. Thank you. Good morning from the beautiful morning of Turkey. Actually, we met with Taslim in 2005 in Istanbul at the also nice morning. And also thank you for inviting me to this conference. I'm very happy to be here and also I will share my, do you hear my voice? Is it okay?
But we cannot see your slide. Could you please share your screen?
May I share my presentation?
Yes, please.
Mhm. Yes.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. Title of my presentation is Emergence of Urban Park Tradition During the Modernization Process in Turkey. By the way, I'm a landscape architect, graduated from Ankara University. Currently, I'm living in Bursa and working in Bursa, Department of Landscape Architecture, by the way. Yes, the Industrial Revolution changed the quantitative and qualitative aspects of the urban system of Europe, and urban planning developed in Europe in pursuit of solutions to the problems brought by the Industrial Revolution. As for urban parks, they emerged as a result of the city government's pursuit of healthy open spaces against unhealthy environments in dense neighborhoods of the working class, and also in time parks open to all sections of the community. And parks are spaces defining modern city, as do railway stations, factories, office buildings. You see some pictures and some of the parks from this period, Western examples in terms of Western examples. Ottoman Empire didn't live the Industrial Revolution directly, but the transformations of Europe has significant effects on Ottoman cities. In this period, hand in hand with the Westernization movements in the late periods of Ottoman Empire, early park samples started to occur in the form of reconstruction of former recreation spots, and you see some pictures from Gülhane and Kağıthane. Yes. In the following period of following the proclamation of the Republic after the fall of Ottoman Empire and the end of the Turkish War of Independence, the new government faced two-dimensional settlement and urbanization problem. First one is the necessity to reconstruct cities which were devastated after the War of Independence. The second one is the need of construct a new society model for Turkish people, create a modern society. And the profession of urban planning hadn't made enough headway in Turkey in this period yet. Therefore, Turkish government invited experts from Europe to Turkey for primarily reconstruction of the ruined cities, and the following period, the presentation of the new society models. Some of these urban planners and architects draw plans for the cities of Turkey, and also some of them give lectures, and some of them make both of them, both lectures and drawing plans, I mean. The most important urban parks of Turkey are the urban parks included the city plans drawn by Western planners. You see the first urban park in Turkey, Yacht Park in Ankara, and the plan is drawn by Herman Jansen. And also this landscape plan drawn by Theo Libo. And if we comes to the landscape architecture, the first course on landscape architecture in Turkey was the Park and Garden Art course given by a Russian professor, Dr. Alexis Shenshin, but he was a forest engineer. And this lecture started in 1939 at Istanbul University Faculty of Forestry. And the first landscape architecture department was established at Ankara University that I studied and graduated from in 1968. And the first academicians of landscape architecture departments sent for the PhD education to Germany. They always follow the rules of Western education curriculum in their universities. And also, similarly, in 1960s, maybe I mentioned about the later period, there wasn't any landscape architects in Turkey. And also these academicians studied or worked not only as an academician, but also a professional landscape designer. And you see the plan of Turkish Parliament building landscape plans in Ankara, and I mean, after an architectural competition, the professor from Ankara University department won the competition and also drove and construct the plan. Turkey's first landscape architecture departments were established in agriculture and forestry faculties. And you see some of the pioneer landscape architects from this period. The last one is Professor Dr. Yalçın Memlük, also was my advisor. He passed away in 2018. And these architects and the others always influenced by the architectural literature and also curriculum accordingly by the westernization trend in architectural tradition. And also this tradition is continue in our countries. And this is my reference, and also I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for your presentation, Professor Atanur, and you have finished in less than 10 minutes. Good. So I'm so grateful.
Yes. Yeah.
So next we have Dr. Saida Jafna Nancy. So she is an assistant professor in architecture at the Military Institute of Science and Technology, MIST, and her PhD from Bullet. And I would like to inform the participants who are present here today and also who are joining with us in online that you can question our presenters. You can we have our chat box open, so you can drop the questions, and also in the question and answer session, when so you can ask the questions.
Let me start. Respected Chair, distinguished guests, and my fellow participants, Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning. As my title suggests, this paper aims to explore the colonial imprints that has been shaping the built environment of Bangladesh and seeks ways towards establishing a national architectural identity that is very much rooted to the land and aligned with contemporary aspirations of the people. This presentation will attempt to answer the following questions. How colonial powers impose their architectural styles, urban and spatial hierarchies on colonized Dhaka, city and East Bengal. Question number 2 is what are the specific colonial planning practices that still influence contemporary urban planning in Dhaka, and how can local innovations in urban planning and architecture be encouraged in context heavily influenced by colonial legacies? The British colonial regime transformed Dhaka, the Mughal administrative center, to a colonial outpost. This transformation was followed by a decline in the Muslim industry and subsequently resulted into a shift from riverine trade to land-based administration. During the British colonial period in India, particularly from 1858 to 1947, several types of cities emerged, primarily characterized by their administrative and commercial roles. There are 3 main types of cities. One is the presidency cities, which were actually the commercial and administrative hub of the colonial regime. And second comes the Nawab cities, which were the princely states of the native rulers. And third comes the hill stations, which were actually the summer retreats of the British elites. These urban centers were pivotal in shaping socio-economic landscape of British India. Let me briefly provide an analysis of how colonial powers shaped Dhaka and East Bengal's architectural and urban landscape. Calcutta was the hub of Bengal presidency and served as a key node in the colonial export-import network during the early colonial period until 1905. Next, Dhaka was a declining Mughal trade center that rose to prominence after the Bengal partition, lasting from 1905 to 1911. The British colonial administration reshaped Dhaka's urban fabric to reflect their administrative and social priorities. This transformation included the creation of new administrative zones, recreational spaces, and infrastructure. With the establishment of Dhaka University, the city became a major center of Western education, and the urban landscape of the city underwent significant changes in terms of zoning. So in terms of zoning, the British colonial power racially segregated the city primarily into 2 clubs: the white city for the European settlers and the black city for the native dwellers. The spatial hierarchy further divided the city into separate distinct functional zones. The white city was divided primarily into 3 zones: the civil line, the cantonment area, and the recreational gardens. The civil lines were further divided into British official bungalows, areas of native elite residences, and the areas of working class neighborhoods. However, the native area was divided into 2 distinct zones: the traditional neighborhoods or mohallas, and the old Dhaka city, which was the Mughal administrative center. The British imposition on architecture took place through the introduction of new building types and architectural styles. The British colonial administration reshaped Dhaka's urban fabric to reflect their administrative and social priorities. This transformation included the creation of new administrative zones, recreational spaces, educational districts, and infrastructure with an array of new building types. Administrative buildings like the old High Court, Northbrook Hall were constructed in prominent locations to symbolize their authority and facilitate governance, while the grandeur of these edifices reflected colonial emphasis on order and authority. The British established educational and cultural institutions in Dhaka to promote Western education and culture, often using architecture to symbolize their civilizing mission. Notable examples are Dhaka College and Jagannath College. In terms of recreational spaces like Ramna Park and race courses were introduced for European elite and which often segregated them from the native population. The British introduced modern infrastructure in Dhaka to support the administrative and economic goals. This included roads, railways, bridges, which facilitate the movement of people and goods. Colonial architecture in Dhaka was not just functional, but also symbolic in nature, designed to project British power and cultural superiority. Monumental buildings were built in prominent locations to dominate the urban landscape and remind the local population of their subjugation. Victoria Park, which was originally built to commemorate the British victory in the Indian Rebellion of 1857, and this park and its surrounding structure symbolize British triumph and authority. The former expression of colonial buildings during the British period represents the British attempt to create hybrid architectural styles. For example, Indo-Saracenic, New Classical, Gothic Revival, which are adapted to the local context. These styles were used for administrative buildings, educational institutions, recreational spaces, symbolizing British authority and modernity. Indo-Saracenic architecture style is a hybrid style combining European elements, domes, arches, and columns, and Indian motifs, jalis, chhatris, and minarets. Some of the notable examples of Indo-Saracenic style are Curzon Hall, Northbrook Hall, and the High Court Building. The monumental scale of Ahsan Masjid and St. Thomas Church are the noteworthy examples of Gothic revival and New Classic style, demonstrating the British power and grandeur, while adapting the local climate through maintaining European architectural elements like high ceilings, verandas, and ventilation systems. The major impact of colonial legacy can be traced through, firstly, through the disruption of indigenous pattern, where the river-based settlement changed to land-based settlement. Secondly, through the changes in housing typology, where traditional homestays were transformed into bungalows. Thirdly, the impact of public spaces, where green parks and vast open spaces replaced the traditional gathering spaces like chowks, streets, and alleys. Afterwards, when Dhaka became the provincial capital of East Pakistan and later the capital of sovereign Bangladesh, the architects adapted the modern architectural style, while the legacy of colonial architecture persisted through the repurposing of colonial buildings. The notable examples of modern architecture by Mazhar al-Islam and some renowned foreign architects are shown here. The three successive master plans of Dhaka of this era reflects the influence of colonial and modern urban planning concepts, including zoning, transportation planning, decentralization, and environmental sustainability as well. However, the future of Dhaka's urban planning lies in balancing modern planning concepts with local contexts and needs while addressing the challenges of rapid urbanization and urban sustainability. In summary, the colonial legacy continues to persist in institutional framework through centralized governance and institutional bureaucracy, technocratic solutions and reductionist approach, ad hoc and reactive planning tendency towards ad hoc solutions rather than comprehensive long-term planning strategies. The legacy also persists in urban development patterns through spatial segregation and fragmentation, exclusion of community participation, and focus on aesthetic and symbolic projects like the elite housing projects of Gulshan and the deprived coral slums at the same time. And also in the architectural practices, the hybrid, the legacy can be traced through the architectural practices through hybrid and modern architectural styles and dependence on imported ideologies, ignoring the local context and post-colonial sensibility. Here, I would like to draw attention to the indigenous rich repository of contextualized architecture and town planning principles and technical knowledge which have been ignored by the built environment professionals since the colonial invasion. There are around 39 Indian treatises that provide guidelines and principles for designing buildings, gardens, and planning cities and villages. Some of the noteworthy treatises among this huge treasure trove is mentioned in the chart, which includes the Vastu Shastra, Manasa Shilpa Shastra, then the Maxims of Hona, and there are actually more than 39. I have only provided a limited list. These are the examples of cities of Indian subcontinent, which were built according to this ancient town planning system and are still functioning very well in the modern, as modern metropolises. I would conclude by suggesting that the way towards decolonizing architecture and establishing a national identity may be attained through revisiting the indigenous knowledge system and incorporating them in planning practices, along with other contemporary planning initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nancy, and that was a perfect 10-minute presentation. So I would like to open the floor for question and answer session. And for the online audiences, you may ask the questions by raising your hands, or you can directly unmute yourself and ask the participants your queries. And for our offline audiences, if you have any questions of our four discussants, you may also raise your hand and we can take the questions from you. Yeah, we have only 6 minutes now to wrap up this session. Yes. Okay. Maybe. No specific questions. To Dr. Tez, Professor Guru, Professor Mata, and Dr. Nancy. So I guess if we do not have any questions, I would like to wrap up this session and straightly go to the tea break. And Dr. Mata, sir, yes. Please come forward.
Even if it's not a bill, will come forward. And can introduce you as well.
We have one. It's my name. Okay. So I would like to introduce Dr. Mahfud sir. So he is one of the members of Knowledge Without Borders, but beside that, he was the chairman of Bangladesh Porjoton Corporation. He is retired now, but he is working voluntarily for the government in the Labor Reformation Commission, if I'm not wrong. So, please, sir.
Thank you. Hello, good morning, everybody. Yeah, thank you so much for allowing me to, raise some issues. Just very briefly, because Dr. Tasnim Shakur is here, so he's a great taskmaster. So I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that. Well, very briefly, Dr. Nancy. In fact, I did attend Dr. Nancy's presentation, and to me, what is happening really in Bangladesh, this indigenous knowledge and practices and the local, you did mention, the riverine scenery has been turned into a road construction and urbanization and everything. So from that perspective, the local issues are missing here. Look at this, master plan. The 3 or 4 master plan you did mention, 4 master plan by Rajuk, did they really follow those issues of the localities, the indigenous culture? Did they really follow that? If not, then what our architects are doing? They are all great architects from the universities, but perhaps our syllabus is very important. What we're learning in our classes, our architects. So those issues are to be looked into, and it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge to bring the local issues. I did see some of the architects, new architects coming in, but it's really a big challenge. I'm pretty sure that you may have to rewrite the books. I'm afraid so. The books have to be rewritten, and when you're talking about decolonizing architecture, it's a big challenge. So we're looking forward to seeing something in future. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Maybe Nancy will respond.
Dr. Nancy, do you have some comments or response to this query that Professor Mabusar has mentioned? Could you please come forward?
Please question.
Thank you, sir, for the question. Actually, this is a very concerning issue right now, as we need to raise awareness in our academia and educate our architecture students to look back at the treasure trove. We are almost forgotten, and it is just like an amnesia. We have to get into that treasure trove and find out our principle that works best for us and have to teach them to the professionals so that they can incorporate them in the planning of Dhaka City or in the master plans. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I should be very mindful about the time, so it's almost 11. I think I'll wrap up this session and invite you to join for a tea break. Our next session should start in 30 minutes. Thank you so much.
জিনিস নিয়ে আসতে লাগে তার সময়টা
ভালো আছে বড় বড় গল্প করছেন হ্যাঁ বড় কোথায় আছে তুই দেখে আমি আরো
We'll start our next session in 5 minutes. So it's 11:24 here in Dhaka. I can see one of our conveners, Professor Tulin Tibrarasan. Thank you for joining me.
আগার করে রাখবো মিটিং রেডি ফাইন ঠিক আছে
Hello.
আপনার গরম লাগতেছে এখন কি করে আপনি এটা ঝুলায় রাখেন কিছু পেছনে একটু ট্রাই করে
All right, we're starting our second session now, which will be chaired by Dr. Tuslim Shukri.
Right. Okay.
My comments.
Assalamualaikum. Again, very good morning with a very nice tea and shingara, which is a really novelty in this part of the world. Thank you again, Muni, for your nice vote. And my name is the head of the department. Okay, welcome to the second session. It's my pleasure to take you until lunch. And I'm told there's a very good lunch waiting for us. So with that speed, let's start the practice of the post-colonial city landscape of the global south. So we'll be now looking into what kind of planning practice is taking place and how the local colonization is implemented. It's my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker here, Professor Ihsan Koch. If I may say, Ihsan Koch is a professor in planning at the Institute of the Bush Institute of Technology. And he was also one of our big scholars and presented in our scholarship for the mega cities. So it was a nice pleasure to he invited us last only a couple of months ago, which I really enjoyed in Bursa. Those of you not been to Bursa, is the first capital of Ottoman Empire, earlier than Istanbul. So here comes Professor Ehsan Coach, who will be talking about the mixed division of Eurocentric modernization for the quest of multiple modernization. Very mouthful thing. You're on, Professor.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this kind and warm welcoming. And it's very nice to meet again with you.
Ehsan, I'll just let you know, by 8 minutes, I'll give you a call. We're going running on time.
Okay.
By 10 minutes.
Okay, I will wrap it up in 10 minutes. Don't worry about it. And thank you for your time. And today it's a big honor for. Can you hear me clearly? Can you hear me clearly? Can all of you hear me clearly?
Yes,
Okay.
I can.
Okay.
hear
Okay,
you.
let me start. Okay, thank you, Professor. And I will today I will be talking about Eurocentric modernization and its misinterpretation, and I will give some cases and try to discuss on urban translation experience of Turkey in 20th century. And aim of my paper is composed of 4 parts. First, I will be trying to talk about the development of urbanist and regionalist thought, which is a legacy of our post country Ottoman state, which is a very strong bureaucratic structure, which is a. And the secondly, I will try to discuss modern and counter-argumentative multi-modern, and then.
At our end, that our offline audiences cannot hear you, so we're trying to resolve this issue at the earliest.
Okay. And after that, I will try to give some plan examples about Istanbul urban plans and including Konya and Antalya.
Yes, we can hear you. ওরা তো শুনতেই পাচ্ছে।
Can you please turn off the microphone of the saloon, because it's a little bit noisy in here? Is it possible? Okay, thank you. And after underscoring the importance of critically examining historical and political context, I will try to give an interrelated and contextual dialectics. Turkey is product of a historical flow, starting from the Turkic imperiums, Göbekli Tepe, 12,000 years, Roman, Byzantine, Seljuk, and Ottoman Empire, and Anatolian Peninsula is a crossroads between many cultures, and it reflects a diverse cultures that have shaped its multicultural urban life, which we can summarize by using rich, diverse, and multifaceted architectural heritage sites. And after the 17th century, Ottoman Empire's weakening, it started losing many lands and territories like Northern Africa and Mesopotamia. I highlighted the term Mesopotamia because it is neither in the East nor in the Middle East. It's a way of rejecting London-centric point of geographical conceptualization. And between 1850s and 1920s, Ottoman state and Turkey passed through some semi-colonizing and foreign debt seizures. And after the independence war, I'm just trying to give a short summary of Turkic Republic, which tailored and motivated anti-colonial rules all around the world, giving its fresh fruit, young Turkish Republic. And therefore, the process of colonizing, modernizing, decolonizing played an intertwined role. And let's start with underlining some tensions between modern and Western argument. Turkey has often been associated with the influence of Western style planning and private enterprise. And many scholars argue that Turkey adopted Western architectural styles, modernist architecture, during the early years, which created a tension between muasır. Asır means century, muasır means belonging to the current century. Çağdaş is the Turkish word for it, but modern is something different, and we hear a lot, and creates a tension between traditional, eclectic, and vernacular modes of thinking and architecture, of course. And modernity refers to a period marked by a shift from traditional to modern ways, and associated with the rise of science, reason, and individualism. Scientific revolution is composed of many different phases, and industrial revolution is respectively a product of scientific revolution, which gives way to enlightenment, secularization, which is the decline of the influence of religion on public life, and capitalism has been adopted as one of the main monetary systems all around the world right now. But West, we need to underline that West is not only modern. There's a counter argument which is based on getting rid of the backwardness, non-temporalness, and inadequateness of the Ottoman Empire. This is what I have been talking about for a long time in Turkey, which emphasizes that Turkish architects often adopted and integrated Western architectural principles and local traditions. And I gave two examples about the change of architectural styles, which is based on let me take this here. Introduction of new building materials, construction techniques, and urban planning principles from Ankara. And as a counter argument, we are facing with multiple modernities. What is it anyway? The multiple modernities perspective has been useful for influencing in challenging the Eurocentric point of view, which promotes a more nuanced and understanding of the diverse ways and engages and reinterprets and redefines modern ideas and institutions with local and national contexts, which underlines there is no single path to modernity, an agency and context, and each society's historical, cultural, and social contexts are playing an important role in shaping its unique path of modernity. Diversity within modernity is the basis of multiple modernity and non-geographical modernities. When we are talking about multiple modernity, we are talking about the ideas, not the regions, not the geographies. East, west, north, south should be referring to more locations on the map. There's an action and reaction structure here. Action is that this arrogant language of the Western Eurocentric point of view, that we know everything, we solved everything, just pass through the phases that we already passed. And there is need for multiple views, equally honorable and historically valid types, which provides a more nuanced and comprehensive understanding. Of course, there are many factors like religion, tradition, local political and economic conditions. And after this general introduction, let me give you some examples of 150 years of Istanbul urban plans. We are starting with 1776 Kaufer Plan, which defines the borders according to the natural thresholds. And Istanbul is a city, a stylistic harbor city, which Haliç, the Golden Horn, is a natural protected harbor. After that, in 1840, Mühendishane-i Berri Hümayun map had been prepared, and Helmut von Moltke map had been prepared in 1837. And there is a very important decree, Tanzimat Decree, 1839, the first westernization or modernization attempt of the empire, which is a general reform attempt in the imperium, paving the way for modernist urbanism in Istanbul and Ottoman Empire. Mustafa Reşit Pasha is a very important figure in this phase, in this time. In 1839, Il Muhaber, which is a provincial public info, defining building codes, defining large squares, orthogonal forms, Topkapı Palace and environment, road widening plans. And 1854, Istanbul Şehremaneti, which is the first form of municipality. And then İntizam-ı Şehir Komisyonu, which is City Order Commission, citywide road widening. Sedaret Office in 1858, which is a parcel-based development permits. The land prices rise more than 300 times, and dealing with development, which is the first projects to implement Western-style urban plans. In 1864, there's Hocapaşa fire, which was after that Islahat-ı Turku, which is then some kind of development permit commission. 1868 Dersaadet İdare-i Belediye Nizamnamesi, which is rules for running municipality and building sites, enforcing building sites, laws for municipality in 1877, and Pera fires in 1870. More than 3,000 buildings were burned. And 1882 Ebniye Nizamnamesi, which is the building law, building act, building permits. The permits and the laws are enacted throughout all empire. Infrastructure plans plus padişah's approval, centric palace-based structures continuing, appropriation rules, parcels for schools and police stations, and outer skirts development in Istanbul. In 1920, there's a firm called Istanbul Urban Enterprises and Studies Joint Stock Company, which paves the way for future urban plans. There is a post-war and invasion phase. Istanbul lost more than 20% of the population and more than 20% of the building stock accordingly, which prioritize the plan making and cartography map preparations. Lercher plan in plan studies in 1926 and 28 around Üsküdar and Kadıköy, building permits, green system, roads hierarchy, and using state-of-the-art planning models.
Can you hear me? We have to stop now. You finish your 10 minutes. You can compile in 1 minute if you want to. Your time is up, son.
Okay, thank you. Henry Prost plan period. After that, Gezi Park and Florya Park are introduced. Now we are seeing such a structure. Gezi Park, Istiklal Square, and Tarlabaşı Boulevard, Menderes roads are the defining urban core systems, and shrinking city, vibrant city, and public spaces are the major urban problems. About Konya, from a prominent architect and urban morphologist Kemal Ahmet Arı, there we see a geometric and symmetrical urban tissue, organic road networks, and pedestrian-based like Antalya. And Konya is like this right now. And in Antalya, also the same structure with green spaces.
I'm very sorry, your time is up. Thank you very much. There will be more questions when they can ask you many questions during the break. Thank you very much, Hassan. Professor Hassan. I mean, he has given a very comprehensive view of Westernization in big cities of Turkey. I quite like the way he was going for the Istanbul one, and then the other ones, but until you run out of time, you can take the whole paper soon. We will stop there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. You probably didn't hear, but there's a lot of claps for your talk. Okay, the next come is our from Turkey. It's very interesting, this international workshop. But I gave you the whole world view from South Asia. Then we went to Algeria. Then we went to Turkey. And now we are coming to Pakistan. You like the Lahore thing. So may I welcome Asiya Javed. You talk about the provocative challenges in the colonization architecture practice in the global south. As you talking about Lahore, most probably. So there you are, Asiya. You're on. So again, may I remind you, please try to find within 10 minutes. I'll give you a warning at 8 minutes. And then you have to finish.
Okay. Okay. I'm trying to share my screen. Am I audible? Am I audible? Hello? Am I audible? Can I start my presentation?
Yes, we can hear you and see the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Today's the presentation title of my research is Provocative Challenges in Decolonizing Architecture, Practice and Pedagogy in the Post-Colonial Global South with a focus on Pakistan. This article investigates the provocative challenges of decolonizing architectural practice and education in post-colonial Pakistan, where colonialism's
legacy is deeply rooted in both the built environment and academic framework. During colonial rule, architecture became a symbol of supremacy, introducing Western styles and aesthetics that have influenced the built environment of Pakistan after independence. Today, architectural education in Pakistan still focuses on Western theories and modernist paradigms, leaving behind local traditions, vernacular construction techniques, and climate responsive structure. As a result of this strategy, contemporary architectural practices are disconnected from regional heritage. In other evidences, in addition, the lack of comprehensive documentation on indigenous practices combined with reliance on English language academic resources created barriers for academicians to access traditional educational systems. The study has some specific objectives such that to explore the challenges and strategies for decolonizing architectural practice and education in Pakistan. The second is to identify colonial legacy, Eurocentric curricula, and the undervaluation of indigenous knowledge. And the third one is to bridge the gap between global modernism and regional traditions to create a more inclusive architectural framework. To assess the architectural evolution in Pakistan, we have to go through the three phases of architectural history. Architecture as a tool of colonial supremacy during British rule, introduction of Western styles and aesthetics, persistent overshadowing of traditional architectural forms post-independence. We have the base in the form of Mughal and Sikh heritage, then the colonialism by the Britishers in the subcontinent and introducing Indo-Saracenic style, and then the international style adopted by the regional people. The significance of the study, the research identifies provocative challenges, including the dominance of Western theories, the undervaluation of local knowledge, and the tension between modernizing and traditionalism. It emphasized the significance of incorporating regional, tropical, and vernacular architecture in architectural studies to explore the unique cultural contexts of Pakistan. Decolonizing architecture in Pakistan is not about rejecting Western ideas, but about developing a balance between the modernism and traditionalism. The current state of architectural education in Pakistan demands some strategies such as has been affected by the dominance of Western theories such as Eurocentric focus by the introduction of the foreign architects such as Bauhaus principles, Le Corbusier modernism, which demarginalize the local traditions, Mughal, Gandhara, and Sindh architecture. And we have disconnected from our regional heritage through the neglect of vernacular construction techniques, preference of reinforced concrete and steel over indigenous materials like mud. And the third one is the language barrier. We are not too much expert in English, but we have to depend the resources provided by the English architects and English academicians. That's why language barrier is the most one which is affecting our architectural education in the continent. The dominance of Western theories is based on Eurofocus and the marginalization of local traditions. And we can assess our research through the four stages: manifestations, impacts, strategies, and studying some examples. Manifestations is based on historical and theoretical context, pedagogical models, limited engagement with local context. All these things impacted in the result of erosion, cultural identity, unsustainable practices, social inequity, and dependency. But we have to do something to come out of this situation, and the basic strategies are curriculum reform through revitalization, vernacular knowledge, localized pedagogy, and professional and institutional support with fostering critical thinking. We can have some good examples in our native or vernacular architecture that was focusing vernacular styles, conservation efforts, sustainable urban designs. The main reason of this modernization is disconnection from regional heritage. Our regional heritage has very beautiful and environment-friendly structures and materials and construction techniques, but it has been replaced by the reinforced concrete and steel over indigenous materials like mud. And the landscape of the architecture has totally been changed by the modern movements. The language barrier is the most impacting factor. The reliance on English language academic resources in architectural education in Pakistan significantly influences the accessibility and integration of traditional knowledge. This issue arises due to various factors that impact the preservation and promotion of indigenous architectural practice.
Sorry to interrupt you, but you only got 2 minutes to wrap up. Thank you.
Okay. There are certain factors which are affecting this disconnection from the local context or global relevance. There are few challenges, that is globalization pressures, urban development trends, environmental concerns. All these practices, all these challenges are impacting our architecture of Pakistan. The cultural context has also playing very important role, but it has been ignored during the modern architectural styles such as wind catchers, towers of Hyderabad, climate responsive designs, use of local materials, craft, stone carving, and lattice work, jales, beautiful wooden work, all has been ignored during the modern movements and use of international styles. Strategies for decolonizing architectural education can be done through curriculum re-evaluation, practical learnings, inclusive frameworks which should bridge the gap between the local and global perspectives. Bridging gap between the practice and the pedagogy can be the most important factor in order to way towards the localization of the vernacular architecture. Participatory approaches can be used, documentation of indigenous practices, and environmental sustainability. Architectural education is also influenced by the Western movements, such that in history we study the Egyptian, Roman, Gothic rather than our vernacular architecture. Western philosophies are such as minimalism is the basic feature, and regional identity has been lost during this way. The broader implications can be done through addressing historical discrimination, contemporary relevance, and global relevance. And we can conclude this decolonization architecture in Pakistan is about integrating regional heritage into modern practices, not rejecting Western ideas. We have to re-image architectural education and practice to honor cultural heritage and address contemporary challenges. And we have to go to the future vision, a balanced framework fostering innovation and inclusivity. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Asya David, she is an academic in Lahore, and if I may say, she just completed her PhD as well on the subject of heritage, and wish her good luck. And thank you for the very precise.
Thank you, sir. Sir, it's your love and affection that inspired that today my mother-in-law has been expired and I have to attend the post-funeral ceremony, but I can't leave this workshop because it is my passion with you and it's my love for you.
I'm extremely sorry, Asya, that you told me.
No. It's okay.
But I'm very glad that you made a very good presentation. Thank you.
Thank
Right,
you.
that brings us to the third. The problem with the online offline is sometimes you hear from the center and some here, but I'm very pleased that today we've got 3 young presenters, Prona Chaudhary, Karin Laila Alam Drishti, and Mohammad Akhtaruজ্জামান bin Aftab. The contextualizing modernism, evaluating the architecture in Bangladesh's educational buildings. So I forgot to know which university you're from. From Kuwait, from there, and all Kuwait, Bangladesh listening in technology. Someone was telling me, is there any Kuwait person? Yes, that is. So again, please be mindful of time. I'll give you warning in 8 minutes.
Respected colleagues and August House, good morning. I am Pranay, along with Artik and Krishti. Today we are presenting our topic called contextualizing modernism, evaluating the architecture dichotomy in Bangladesh education learning. Firstly, we would like to know the Bangladeshi context and what is tropical context is. Basically, contextual modernism is merging local culture, climate, and socio-economic conditions with modernism. Then, if we question how can we define true Bangalore architecture, firstly we know the context, right? So it can be defined climatically, it can be defined geographically, and also defined by socio-political way. So if we look at our current existing boundary, we see that the true context of Bengal is within our border. Then if we move towards our next slide, we can see that in our local context, we have many construction myths or a process like corner bottom, Bashashastro to create our design buildings and plannings and other stuff. So if we look at very commonly practiced corner bottom like this, it suggests us to design our building in a south-facing oriented way so that we can deal better with ventilations and other climatic issues. Also, we have our very own measurement techniques, our very own planning like Bashashastro and other stuff, and our settlement process and our other drawings like that. So, what is actually true Bengal architecture? True Bengal architecture can be identified by its origin or its age, but it must consider how architecture is always changed by external forces. In this research, we shall explore this notion to determine its fundamental nature. Okay, so we are focused on education system. So if we move towards our contextual education system, we can see that our educational system was based on Guru Shishya approach or one-to-one approach, basically. So it is seen in ashram, moktabs, and bihars. I will like to focus on bihars. Basically, in as we know, in Bajrayana period, Bihar was a university, and Bihar was a meditation space where Guru Shishya system was very popular. So, what's the basic concept of Bihar? Bihar was a communal shelter for people, grew from a humble shelter to for a habitation with new deities and complexes. So it rises day by day by the donation of the local rulers and rich persons. Then if we look at this map, why I am focusing on Bihars? Because the philosophies of Buddhism spread from this region. And if we move to the next slide, we can see that many Bihars and Mahavihars located in this context that I defined earlier. And if we look at the spatial planning and other drawings of the Bihar, we can see a very similarity with our contextual needs and our very own architectural characters like courtyard, Jack Roast, and other stuff. So, what's the basic composition of Bihar? So, the composition of Bihar is similar to what I mentioned earlier, where it is typically centered around a courtyard. We can see a circulation in various form, which is pin-shaped, sometimes it is H-shaped, and sometimes it's O-shaped. And this small room surrounded by the courtyard was used for meditation or for students. That refers the one-to-one approaches for education. And also, if we look at our Bengali architectural system, we can see that in true Bengal architecture, whether we look at our rural buildings or Bihar, we can see that the architecture was more grounded. Educational building, if we observe, were more courtyard based and followed one-to-one approach. And here the external environment wasn't as important as privacy was a major concern. Instead, natural lighting and air was welcomed. So then after British took over us and colonial period was started. So colonial period was colonial mindset has influenced our local culture, obviously local context. So regarding the Western influence, they dismissed the local craftsmen and imposed large-scale ornamentation, monumental buildings, and design monumental buildings like that, and design rules attempting to integrate their style in our local context. So if we look at this slide, we can see that our very own Bengal heart was mimicked in different phases of time, right? Like we can see the Sultani period monks and Mughal period monks who have come with the idea of the carve of Bengal heart in this slide. And also the colonial period, we can see the influence too. The Banglo was influenced from this Bengal heart. So the colonial mindset has influenced our grounded architecture to become dominating and imposing. It suggests that ruler or elite community should be separated from the ordinary people. The ruling or elite class adopted dominating architecture to display their authority. This led to a mindset among people that to showcase their power, they had to follow this larger scale architecture. Okay, we can move to the next slide. Okay, then the modern period has started. When modern architecture evolved, it removed itself from the parts of colonial thinking, which was a good part, but it emphasized more on aesthetics, cultural influence, and environmental concept. While this offered some great elements, it also had its negative side too. Modern architecture in Bangladesh blends traditional and contemporary elements, focuses on climate responsive design, utilizes local materials, emphasizes on functionality and simplicity, and expresses culture through modernist forms. So, foreign architects came in Bangladesh basically in 1960s in USA. They choose tropical modernism for these areas architecture. Tropical modernism is an architectural style that combines modern principles with local climate, culture, material considerations, making it particularly relevant to regions like Bangladesh. Okay, so why modern architects or foreign architects liked tropical modernism in Bangladesh so much? Because we think because of this four regions: climatical suitability, local material, cultural integration, and sustainability. So in our research to merge our ideas and merge our concept with this foreign architects work, we have picked these three case study. First one is our very own Department of Architecture, which designed by Richard Newman, and another one is Bangladesh Agricultural University, designed by Paul Rudolph, and the next one is TSC, designed by Dr. I will not briefly discuss these case studies as we all know about these buildings. I am just sharing some glimpse of these buildings. We have documented some of this building for our study purpose in academic areas like TSC. We have drawn the plans and other drawings for TSC and stuff like that. If we overly conclude their design, we can see a very minimalistic and modernistic approach to design the building. They have solved the climate very efficient way. But what they have missed, we think, they have missed the our craftsmen, our culture, and some local mindsets. We have what we have mentioned earlier. So if we move one by one. First, we have catched that the contextual disconnection was there because we have seen earlier that our architecture was more inward, more courtyard-based approach, but we didn't see that much of it in their design. Then misuse of material was there. Yes, sir. Misuse of material was there because we have very misconception about materials because if we talk about Bengal architecture, we all sometimes we refer exposed brick as a material, but it wasn't true. When we are going in depth of it, we found that our architecture was made of brick, obviously, but it was plastered and it was weathering in a way. Then aesthetic focus was wrong as we think. Then cultural inconsistency was there in their design. Then what we have mentioned earlier, ignoring craftsmanship. Sometimes the foreign architects ignores our craftsmen and our design process, just impose their own things over us. Then they have standardized everything. We have lost our diversity designing process and sustainability issues. So what foreign architect should look at to mitigate these problems. So we didn't go further. We just briefly focusing some points. First of all, they could have collaborated local expert. They have done it, but they could do it in a more efficient way or users of craftsmen, and they could prioritize their functionality over aesthetics, and then they could adopt regional variations more. Thank you all for the presentation.
Hello. That was an excellent presentation by Mr. Prabha. Three young academics from Kuwait. In a way, there's some overlap with my presentation, so I might have a question for them at the end as a chair. But carrying from that, we have got the last speaker in this session is Ebru Kamachar Karshan. She understands the head of architecture in Bursa Institute of Technology. And she'll be talking about the case of Ankara, the capital of Turkey, special planning role of nation building. So I don't see her face yet. I think that's not her face. The Russia Javin. Can we check into whether we have the right person there? Just a second. I mean, sometimes because of technical difficulty, we may not find everyone on time. Okay, so she's not. She's not there. Any chance of calling her? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, what we can do. I mean, since we have got time, we're going until 12:30. So while we are looking for her, I mean, she's a very astute professor of architecture. I met her only a month ago, and they're very keen to give this paper. So, but while we wait, maybe we can start 1-2 questions. We've got up to 12:30. So if I may ask Pranay, the question is, don't worry, I'm not asking a difficult question, because I'm going to say, you mentioned about the tropical sort of modernism of the world. I'm not sure, would you call Paul Rudolph's architecture for tropical modernism? The one you showed about the Agricultural University, and you tried to discourage the tropical modernism. What is so tropical modernism about them? I thought it was brutal modernism, but I might be wrong. So would you like to respond to that? After I can ask for. No, I'm not trying to question you, but because I think you see this tropical, as far as I understand, and Munim is also here more expert on this subject, but my tropical modernism is more like architects in Sri Lanka, Jeffrey Bow and others, but I'm not sure these concrete people are in terms of tropical modernism.
Okay, I was partly agree with you. He has done some brutal architecture there, but in overall summary, I have mentioned tropical modernism because when the architects came over here, I'm saying for overall architects community, foreign architects community, when they have come over here, they didn't research our architecture style or history. What they have was the climate, only climate. To deal with this context architecture, they had only reference was climate. So I have mentioned that way that tropical modernism was there.
I'm interested about your other colleagues, if they want to have any say that, because they wrote together. Do you want to say something?
Sir, I am agree.
If your boss or something, I want to hear from her. Like Radha Jawari Pulana Tai Boli. No, again, see, we still got a bit time. Who is a bit? Because tropical modernism is something we have named after, long after they have gone. When they were built, I don't know, here maybe. So this definition, why we are justifying them. You said about climate. I told you about Vikas architecture. He didn't see that rain comes in almost 180 degrees. So that's why he was angry when I asked him, why does rain get in? So he didn't look at the climate. Pure form. I don't know. Professor Harun is here, maybe he could illuminate this point a bit. Now I said the tropical, they said the climate. Please come here, Mr. Professor Harun.
This term, it's a recent term. Recent means
Exactly. That's what I. but we forget her now.
In terms of like, if you look at the art college, art institute, like
Yes.
Architect Mazharul Islam, if you evaluate it in terms of critical regionalism, for instance, it fits the definition. But that term came just in the long after. That term came long after. So that's true. The other thing I wanted just a clarification, like we sometimes say that courtyard is our own, but courtyard has been in many civilizations. In Chinese civilization, there were courtyard. In Roman civilization, there were courtyard.
Greek.
In Middle East, there were courtyard. In Egypt, there were courtyard. So courtyard is not something unique to Bengal. So you must realize that I'm not degrading you all, but that matter of information.
No, I mean, I'm very glad that we were a nice crowd here, almost 30 people, and many architects are also young. Is there anyone who would like to? Sorry, not on. I just want. Sorry for the technical hit. Good, the magical man. Okay, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. No, I just said we are very privileged. We have got a nice young crowd, and if you know, the whole spirit of this workshop has come to me from the young revolutionaries they have done this time with the young people who have died. I'm sure there are so many young architects are here. I want to know their opinion as well. That what do you think of this tropical modernism? As Professor Harun was also my teacher when I was being 70. I think there is no point in unnecessarily justifying something which is not done. And you mentioned about local museum. I mean, he didn't look into climate at all. Because if you think the whole concrete plaza and the problem the Christians they face, they designed their nice chamber in Paris or in Philadelphia. They didn't make so many buildings. Maybe because does anything. So I just beg to disagree that I think they were not really tropical modernists, but just brutal modernists as well. But there are other professors here. Muni, would you like to say anything? Okay, yeah, Iqbal will say. No, Iqbal, please come here. We've got time. So and as I said, with all our thinking with the Shamanekari. So Shamanekari people are here. So I'm like here. We have called.
Thank you. And not adding to the discussion about tropical modernism, we can all agree that these are terms later originated to describe or more aptly term the architectural styles that have been evolving all around later on. Because we know that Mazharul Islam's Institute of Architecture, Institute of Art was built in 1952, but he went on to study tropical architecture in London A School as a very early stage of that program. It was there in the 80s. So there are some interesting, I think, overlaps and departures as well in terms of terms. But I would like to ask them about just a thought that came to my mind when you were talking about Honar Bottom and those local oral cultures that has been here. Is it a form of building regulation of that time for more illiterate society? More agrarian society, or is it a kind of tool to propagate good building culture or built environment systems? Is it like that, or we can say that these are only myths?
Actually, these are not only myths. The culture you have mentioned, I totally agree with it. But I'm slightly doing opposition for this because in the current scenarios, sometimes the Konarbojon doesn't apply because when Konarbojon was came, the context wasn't right now. Context wasn't the exact same right now. So I'm in the middle position, and I can say it as a culture too, but I can't say it will be applicable in this modern time or in this present time.
Thank you.
He's the only person older than me, so he has.
Pertaining to building regulations or building practices in the rural area. Actually, what happens is if you go to a rural area in this country, if you search deep enough, you'll see that people living around you are related, blood relations. Maybe his great grandfather was my great grandfather's friend or just brother. So in that sort of situation where there is something called shared belief that determines everything. Like if I go to my village and build a house for myself, I will not build it in the utan. But if you go to the law books, you will not find anything that says you cannot build in the utan. But if you build in the utan, you will have a lot of indignant reaction from your neighbors. So these are unwritten set of rules that has moderated building settlement and building design in the rural areas, which you do not have in the urban context. Urban context, you don't know your neighbor. You become a statist. I'm one of the 20 million people living in Dhaka. Who the hell knows me except the close circle I come across every day. So we must realize that, and that's why you need regulations in the urban area, but you don't need them in the rural areas.
Thank you. Very good point.
From the audience, we get a question. Actually, it is related to the social economy and cultural influence is higher priority than the context or not? For socio-economic and cultural influence is higher priority or not than the contextual priority in making bringing our beliefs published.
Not answer the question.
Important.
Sir, can I answer this in Bangla? Sir, I think আমরা কোনখানে আর্কিটেকচারটা করতেছি সেটার উপর ডিপেন্ড করে যে আমি কোনটাকে ফোকাস করবো, যে কন্টেক্সটকে নাকি হচ্ছে আমার কালচারাল ব্যাপারটাকে আর কি। তো স্যার যেহেতু বললেন যে আমাদের রুরাল কালচারটা ডিফারেন্ট, সেখানে আমাদের কমিউনিটিটা ডিফারেন্ট ভাবে থাকে এবং আমাদের আরবান এরিয়াতে কমিউনিটি ডিফারেন্ট। তো সেক্ষেত্রে আমি বলতে পারি যে হয়তোবা আরবানে আমার কন্টেক্সটটা বেশি জরুরি, বা হয়তোবা রুরালে আমার কাছে পার্সোনালি মনে হয় যে রুরালে তখন আমি কালচারাল ব্যাপারটাকে মোর এমফাসাইজ দিব আর কি আমার। আর আবার সামটাইমস কালচারাল আবার কন্টেক্সট এটা সিমিলার ব্যাপারে চলে আসে মানে।
ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ।
Okay, I would like to thank you for the engaging question and answer session. Thank you all.
I think the presenter said that it is also contextual to gain influence from urban sector. We will maybe prioritize the setting of or urban setting, and the rural we will prioritize the cultural setting. So it will be depending on the immediate context for the architects. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'm so glad we had a good discussion here. Now, for the two speakers who spoke before, from Turkey and Pakistan, both Ihsan Coach and Ziad, just briefly, can you see any comparison between colonization process in Dhaka in Bangladesh here and what you can? I can see very well, but if you could make it a short comment. First,
Sure. Thank you for this chance. I think most of the things are parallel because the colonial rule or the semi-colonial rule oppresses and demolishes local capacities first and makes people believe that they cannot solve their problems alone. That is the starting point of colonial mindset. This is, I think, most of the time parallel to each other, depending on the power accumulation and capital accumulation of the locality, which can react to this oppression, defines the time frame of this mindset to resolve and open new ways. I think everyone can solve their own problems, and localities are very important. That is the parallel structure that I observed before the session and also through the session. Most of the things are parallel. Thank you.
On the point. Now, Asia, have you got anything to say? Somebody asked me. Hello, Asia, can you hear me? Hello, Asia.
Asia, your microphone is off.
Your microphone is off, Asia. Okay.
Okay,
If I'm
now
say,
I have unmuted me.
okay, have you got any point to make? I asked a question, any comparative aspect you can see within Bangladesh and in Turkey in terms of colonization process.
Actually, in my opinion, the whole South Asian subcontinent has the same environmental and historical context. And we are facing the same type of challenges, but there are certain factors which decide our future, how much we are influenced by the modern movements, how much we are using latest materials, and how can we give respect to our regional architecture. But it is all can be done through architectural education, and we academicians and practitioners can play a vital role in doing this. That's why I cannot hear your question clearly because there is a voice disturbance. But I can see that Bangladesh is very close to Pakistan as it was the part of Pakistan in the earlier periods, and the same situation both of the countries has faced. And still now, we are not giving the due identity to our local heritage and local materials, local material of constructions, vernacular construction techniques are very important. That's why we are not producing environment-friendly buildings, and we are moving towards the modern and Western Eurocentric architecture. We have to do something, and we have to generate a balance between the new constructions and the vernacular traditions.
Thank you so much, Asia. Sir, just to make an apology to you.
No problem. No problem.
I just wanted to say that we didn't receive a Blues presentation on time properly. So we have You want to say something?
Yes, I tried to contact her yesterday. She was not feeling very good. Most probably she is not feeling okay. I think she will inform, I guess.
No problem, because when we do the book, she will be definitely there. So thank you.
Certainly. Thank you for your time.
Well, I'm so glad that we are bringing you on time now. Just only about 5 minutes left. This is my pleasure to invite my boss, is Professor Mahfouz Hussain. Mahfouz is here. He's my colleague, but we're school friends. And we set up this Knowledge Without Borders. And I wanted him to introduce our sort of voluntary agency with someone has advertised us as well, no one will. So may I invite, and he's one of the important person working with Dr. Yunus as a member of the labor reformist, but he's also an environmentalist himself. So, Professor Mahfouz. And after that, there's a nice lunch waiting, so good news.
Hello, everybody. Dr. Tosli mentioned about the nice lunch, meaning shorten your speech. Nice. Lunch would be cold. Don't stand between the lunch and your speech. So shorten your speech. Thank you so much. Okay, this knowledge is without borders. We established this organization, I think around 4 to 5 years back.
3 years.
3 years, okay. So we have been doing, as of now, what we're, well, this is a think tank, you may call it, think tank of some professors, and we are old professors. There's the problem. So we barely need young minds to help us. We have, mostly we were from a public school of Rashikhet College. So myself, and I was the secretary to the government. I retired, and then I've now been teaching in Dhaka University, Bangladesh University, professional some development studies, environmental science, and so on and so forth. And now I have been, as did mentioned by Taslim Shakur, is that I'm a member of reform, this labor reform commission of the present interim government. So I'm
working free, you're working free.
Not only free, but I'm paying from my own pocket.
This is important. This is very important as well.
We call it voluntarism. Although I'm deadly against voluntarism, but I have no choice.
So
I'm a consultant, I'm paid for that, but here I pay from my own pocket. All the transportation, everything I pay from my own pocket. Okay, so we are expected to submit our report within 90 days time, meaning by end of February or so. That's a lot of a hectic job. Besides that, I have other commitment as well. With me is that Professor Taslim Shakur from he was very much in eco-based academicians, but now he's coming very often to Bangladesh and doing a great job. We have Professor Sadiqul Islam, who is from Laurentian University and economist in Canada. So he's there, and then Imam Rashid Ruman is there. So we have been trying to organize a good number of issues, like we're challenging the existing knowledge. We're challenging that. We are critically thinking that what could be something to look forward to. So our activities started with, as you know, this workshop seminars or discussions on challenging the socio-economic realities, challenging the architecture, challenging the environmental issues, and how do we look at it? That's the big issues we are looking at. We're asking ourselves. So, and our activities started with obviously this, conducting seminars, workshops, and so on and so forth. Side by side, we are also conducting some training sessions. We successfully conducted some, a good number of training sessions, mostly online, and we received a lot of good response from university teachers, students, home and abroad, and our trainers or instructors were good number of them were from abroad, from university of that foreign universities. They did a good job. Side by side, we have started publishing books. And I welcome you that if you have some manuscripts related to these issues, please, most welcome, come up with us. And we might be able to, unilaterally we can publish, or jointly we can publish. If some editing is done by you, so that's also a possibility. So we can do that. And I'm just thinking about while we're talking about the critical analysis, critically we're looking at all the issues, all the realities. Why not July Revolution? I'm pretty sure that Taslim does have some ideas on the July Revolution in Bangladesh, the changes of the government which took place in July. So those issues, they were the challenges of the existing realities. So those are the issues we can take it up. We can take it up in our future discourse. and I'm pretty sure that in the coming days, I'm just thinking that perhaps some point of time we can engage into a dialogue with the interim government. Taslim, Dr. Taslim. Yeah, perhaps, perhaps, can we engage a discourse with the present interim government
Yes,
about
please.
the July Revolution?
Of course, we are here disposal.
July Revolution. This is a big challenge. It's a big challenging the existing situations. And I would say this is a great revolution. We welcome that, and we would like to that something is happening. Some changes are taking, real changes are taking place. So that's why we are doing for reformation activities on that. So perhaps we welcome from you ideas. It could be related to books, articles. It could be related to conducting seminars or some presentation. We welcome that. And Ruman is there. He's a great organizer. So thank you so much. We look for some more engagement in the coming days. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mahfouz. As he said, we like to welcome you. It's a publishing house, not the border, and he edits many of the manuscripts, so please feel free. But I would like to seriously take the welcome gesture to have a dialogue with the present interim government. And as Ruman says, we can even do it before the end of January as well. So with that very good news and wonderful session I've chaired this time with your lovely participation, and thank you, Ehsan and Asia, for your wonderful contribution. And may I now welcome you for the lunch, which is one step down, and I'm told there's a more pulao, and if I may say, it is chicken biryani, chicken pulao. It's better than turkey and Nevan.
I'll miss your biryani and chicken pulao.
Yes, I'm sorry, Asia. So we will have a nice time, but please be sure to come on time by 1:30. So start going now, and thank you for the lovely session. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
So we have session 2, session 3 and 4. We have provided the link, and then link will be activated straight at 1:30. Thank you so much.